Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce, good to see you again.
Hey, David, long time no see.
This time on the flat screen.
Mm-hmm.
We were at the game together tonight.
Yeah. First time since Pat Quinn was head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. We were in the Edmonton Journal box at your invitation one time in 2009, late December 2009, Devin Dubnyk's first career game. And Ken Hitchcock and his Bully Boy Blues clobbered Edmonton 7-2, the way they always clobbered Edmonton in those days. And that was, and since then, this is the first time we had the opportunity to go to a game together. It was a fun game to watch.
Indeed. And we have Steve Dillon he's good fella on Twitter to thank. Thanks, Steve, for the tickets. That was
he's a good fellow, all right. Talk about living up to your name there, good fella.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Fun game. That was a fun game. Alrighty. Bruce, it was another 5-2 Oilers win. The sample size is getting longer of them being a dominant team. They really are a good team. They had 12 grade A chances to 11 for the Predators tonight, but I believe the Oilers' chances were significantly better, and including the number that they didn't score on, mainly by Zach Hyman. But they're a bit of a machine right now when it comes to manufacturing goals, Bruce. And we saw it again tonight. So this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. We'll go with two good things each. What's your first good thing?
Well, it's pretty hard to overlook big Leon Draisaitl, who tonight played center, he played wing, he played power play, he played two-man short penalty kill, he played goalie out, and he succeeded in all of those situations to the tune of 2 goals, 1 assist, no goals against on his watch, and just another stellar night's work that has now put him into the NHL scoring lead with 20 points. First guy to reach that mark, 1 point ahead of line mate Connor McDavid, and tonight's line mate Connor McDavid, and he also bumped up into the tie for the league lead with plus 11 because he's outscoring like crazy, even in the ones the NHL counts. And I mean, if you count all situations, power plays and penalty kills and two-man short and either team's goalie out, all situations, through 9 games, 27 periods, Draisaitl's been on the ice for 26 goals by the Edmonton, 4 against. 26-4. And granted, he gets favorable ice time for sure, but he does have defensive responsibilities, and he's getting the job done, at least on the goals front. You look at his fancy stats tonight, and you think he was the worst player on the ice, but I sure wasn't.
He wasn't in any way the worst player on the ice.
Kidding.
I mean, anyway, you can put whatever weight you want on those numbers. Bruce, he was fantastic tonight, and he was so dangerous on the ice. Like he had a number of really great scoring chances. One at the side of the net that he almost put in. I mean, the goal that he scored, it wasn't the classic executioner shot because it was kind of fluttering to the net a little bit wobbly, but it went in right off the post. The goal he scored off the McDavid feed, amazing. What an amazing play. He just kept moving into the slot and then just picks it. He picks that spot and drains it. He's like a pool shark moving in there and, doing the called shot, impossible called shot, with off three bank shots and 3 walls and in. Like, he's amazing. What an amazing hockey. He's the MVP, Bruce, of the early. I would pick him over McDavid as the MVP.
He's playing better at this point in time.
His defensive play has been absolutely stellar. Leon Draisaitl's. And Bruce, you've sometimes chided me a little bit for being hard on Draisaitl's defensive play.
Mm.
Maybe I am, but I'm not right now. He is
Well,
crushing it in the defensive zone. He's crushing it in the offensive zone. He's crushing it in the face-off circle. He is the best player right now in hockey. And with McDavid a close second, obviously.
what
They're
a
so
1-2
close.
punch, man.
But wow,
There was a play tonight in the first period, and the Oilers were attacking our end in the first and third period. So this was going away from us. And Nashville, I think this was on the first Edmonton power play, and Nashville broke away 2-on-1. And Leon put the Jets on, overtook the guy, and lifted his stick just as he was going to shoot the puck that had it like it was a 150-foot dash on the back check that time. I mean, the goals we talked about, a crucial play in the third period when Nashville got a two-man advantage, and if they'd scored on that, then they're still on the power play, and they're suddenly down by 2 with like 6 minutes left. And they put Leon out there for that, of course. And not only do the Oilers survive, but Draisaitl himself wins a puck battle and comes charging down ice with it, and basically tries to go through the whole team himself and then continues to play right to the end boards to battle for the puck. There was one play where he took a bit of a dirty check from Nashville defenseman. I looked it up, Roman Josi, and about 10 or 15 seconds later, he absolutely ran over Dante Fabro. It was the only hit that he was credited with of the game, but the timing of it was no coincidence. It's like, if you're going to run me, okay, I can play that game. Let's see the next guy run me, and it didn't happen again.
Did you mention his great on the power play in the first set? McDavid wins a battle, and he moves it cross ice to Draisaitl, who moves it immediately, ping pongs it over to Hyman, who almost scores. Right, like that. What a great pass that was! Wow, did you? Someone compared him to Phil. I think it was you comparing him to Phil Esposito. That's right. You made the compare, and then David being Bobby Orr at center. He is a very similar player to Phil Esposito, who was, until Wayne Gretzky came along, the greatest goal scorer in NHL history, single season at least. And
sorry, carry on.
Go ahead.
Some guy in the post-game radio show was saying that Draisaitl shoots like Ovechkin, protects the puck like Forsberg, and passes like Lemieux.
Well, that's a bit much.
Bit of a stretch, but I can see what he sees, especially the Forsberg.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of the puck protection, I mean, that guy was a beast on the puck. It was almost impossible to knock off of it. And, well, just Leon is among the very best puck protectors in the league today. And good luck going through him to get the puck.
So the coach shifted up the lines after the first period. He put McDavid and Draisaitl together, and I don't love that. I just feel like they're better on their own lines, especially Draisaitl defensively really comes alive when he's a center on his own line. So I'd like to get the most out of players, and nonetheless, they scored a goal together, and the Nugent Hopkins line also scored a goal after Tippett made that move, and the Devin Shore scored a goal, a really big goal, leading the third line with Cassian and Fogle on his wing. So you have to give Tippett credit there. His moves worked. That's not my good thing. My good thing is Koskinen and Bruce. He's just played very solid hockey. It's great to see. People, all the kind of Oilery insiders are saying like it sounded like there was an imperative to move him and trade him this summer. I can't actually remember what we were saying. Like I was probably saying they need to get a goalie too. So I just can't blame all the other guys. But there seemed to be like this feeling like he just had worn out his welcome with the team almost, from what I was hearing. But I hear other reports that the team really likes this guy, and he's a really a good guy. Anyway, all that aside,
the guy, sure,
played very well tonight. He has a 934 save percentage overall, 6 wins, 1 loss. He's 7th in the NHL for regular goalies who have played more than 5 games in save percentage right now. He's just been he's been really good. He's been really good. And I do know what I was saying going into the season was between Smith and Koskinen, with Smith playing well last year and Koskinen playing well the year before, chances are the Oilers are going to have one really good goalie. So far, we've had two, and until Smith got hurt, he was really good. So now
Yeah.
things are kind of looking a little bit more promising on the goalie front, Bruce. I mean, there's been all this talk, Oilers got to get a goalie, and I've bought into it. I mean, I'm not going to, it's been in my head as well. It's been in my mind. But who knows? Maybe they're not going to need one.
Well, they don't need one for Friday's game, do they? I mean, they got goalies right now that can play games, and if there's going to be some emergency down the road, it's not apparent as of yet. And I'm saying that even with Mike Smith battling through an injury at the moment. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen Stuart Skinner play at all, but Koskinen's been answering the challenges.
Koskinen had two big moments in the game. Like there was a number of good saves. He was solid throughout.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get beat on any bad goals. But early in the game, right off the tops, Cody Ceci made a bad pinch, and there was a 2-on-1 chance.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a goal that last year Koskinen may well have let in early in the year. That early goal has plagued him a little bit as well. He saved it. He made the save. Can't remember who was shooting it on that one. And then early in the third period, Darnell Nurse was a little soft in coverage, and there was a kind of a really hard, low angle outside shot on net, which rebounded over to the other side. And Puljujärvi lost his man coming in from the point. And again, I can't identify the Nashville shooter on that one, but it was just a 5-alarm chance for sure. And Koskinen got over and made the save. So two in big moments in the game, because
that was a big moment.
At that point, it was 2-1. 2-1, yeah. It's still 2-1 at that point.
Yep.
And Nashville scores. Who knows what happens? And he makes the save. So great game for Mikko Koskinen.
Yeah, he's been good. Like, I mean, I can't think of one game where it's like, well, you just need an average performance, and they got one. Like, I mean, he had the stinker against Philadelphia for sure. And goaltending was the difference in that game, and not in a good way. But in all the other games, he's been excellent. Even when he gave in 3 goals in the Vegas game that they won 5-3, there was a lot that went on in that game that could have turned it the other way and didn't.
Kurt gave Leon Draisaitl, despite his bad on ice numbers, his bad Korski and Fensky and all the other skis. Mm-hmm. Kurt gave him a 9, and he gave Koskinen an 8. So he's concurring with us.
Exact same grades I gave those 2 on Monday, and I put them both in the headline. Draisaitl, Koskinen lead Oilers to victory.
Again.
Same score, right? So.
What's your second good thing?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and this is in part due to the opportunity to see him play live and just get an impression of how smooth he is and how versatile he is, how many different things he does for the team. And again, also in different situations. Like, talk about a jack of all trades. Very good on the penalty kill. Outstanding, really, on the power play. He got another primary assist on the power play where the puck came to him in the slot, and almost without looking, he slid it over to Draisaitl on the bottom of the right circle. Bam! I mean, Nugent's had at least 3 primary assists already this year by feeding it from that spot to that spot, and Leon draining the opportunity. And and he got an assist on Yamamoto's goal just by, I thought, making a good decision and just sifting the puck into traffic in front of the net from the point. He was way out in the middle of the blue line, and there wasn't a lot of really good options, so he just put it on net, and the puck, I'm not sure what it hit, but Yamamoto, I think it hit maybe Hyman's stick.
It hit Hyman's body and bounced over his body, a wide open net.
Bounced to Yamo, and he put it upstairs. And, so 2 more assists now, up to 13 on the season through 9 games. I mean, that's pretty sensational. But I just liked his 200-foot game.
He's tied for 5th in NHL scoring, Bruce.
With no goals. Yeah, well.
And he has
setting them up, and he's earned most of those assists. You got the odd cheap one here and there, a second assist or whatever, where you don't do much. but he's been getting primaries and his work on the power play. I mean, that power play is just firing on all cylinders. 13 for 28 now on the season. They've scored in every game, and Nuge has been in the middle of it.
And the PK's firing on all cylinders too. I mean, and Nuge is he like on the did you mention that one where he blocked the shot there on the PK
Mm-hmm.
and went down the ice and set up Hyman for a one-timer? Like again, just a brilliant chance. So yeah, Nuge, he really it's great to see him signed. And I mentioned like glad he's having this season, not last season, because if he had
Right.
had this breakout scoring season, um, I'm predicting 60 assists for Nuge this year. If he had that last year, he would have cost another million or two a year, and the Oilers might have
True.
lost him. So
Would have been seven and change instead of five and relatively small change. Like he's basically a $5 million contract. And man, is he ever covering that bet to this point? That's looking
he sure
like a
is.
real good deal, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's so great because he's been an Oiler. What's this, his 11th year?
It is his 11th
Amazing.
year.
He's
Yeah.
one of and I think he's my wife's favorite player too. So there you go. Um, I'm just going to quickly cover my next best thing is just three players who we were at the game, and it's very different being at the game trying to rate players.
Is it ever?
You know, I honestly, when I got home, I quickly went over I was keeping track of scoring chances, like the times. When I went home, I went over the replay just to get ready for this because I feel lost without that process. But you do have this sense of the players at the game that you kind of don't
Mm-hmm.
have from
Yeah,
watching.
you learn stuff at the game that you don't get from
You
TV
do.
too.
Yeah.
I personally view the game very differently in a three-dimensional setting.
Yeah. Um, Three players stood out in the seen him good category for me. Cutter Yamamoto,
Mm-hmm.
uh, his PK play and his defensive play. I think he's one of the most underrated defensive wingers in the NHL. I think he's an outstanding defensive winger. And all the talk about moving him off the line, it was rarely mentioned by people. Just what a great defensive hockey player he is because he's so smart, diligent, works hard at it, and he was great on the PK. And won a lot of battles, cleared some pucks. I think that's not mentioned enough about him. Evan Bouchard, I was just impressed the hell out of me. He was also strong defensively, winning board battles. He's just such a calm and skilled player, sturdy on his skates. He is way right now, Bruce. I'll just say this. I'll put the right now caveat in there. Right now, he is way better on defense than I had ever hoped. I never thought we would see such solid, composed defending from him at this point. I thought it was going to be more like Justin Schultz,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe with a little bit more on the attack than Schultz brought, especially, shooting the puck. It hasn't been like that at all. He has been strong defensively, and he was again tonight.
Well, here's one thing about Evan Bouchard. At the beginning of the season, they were in the training camp. They were doing the penalty killing with him, and I thought, well, that's smart because with Tyson Barrie on the team, he's going to be number 5, and if there's another penalty defenseman in the box, then he's going to have to kill. We might as well get him practicing in preseason. He's been like tonight. He played 433 on the penalty kill. 433. There wasn't another order that even got to 3.5 minutes, and he was over 4.5 minutes. And he was on the bench when Nashville finally did get their one power play goal late. So they're heavily relying on him on the penalty kill unit.
Yeah,
And I mean, penalty killing. I mean, that's as defensive a role as you're going to get.
because he wins pucks and he does great things with them. He gets them down the ice because he's so
Yeah.
skilled with the puck. He made an absolutely gorgeous pass to Kyle Turris.
Hmm.
For Turris, and Turris went in. I think he put the shot between the legs of the Preds D man for a really good shot. He won Bouchard. He won a battle in his own zone that led to Draisaitl's goal. He made the defensive stop that kicked off that sequence, and he also what's the third one that I saw? Yeah, he made a really good pinch on another grade A chance. Where McD put it off Hyman's skate and it almost went in the net. So he's everything I had hoped he would be, and he's more. He's much more because of this defensive stuff that didn't think was going to happen. Third guy I really liked is Duncan Keith. I
Hmm.
just he really plays such a smart game out there. He's not perfect on defense. He will now and then get beat up defensively. They all do, of course. But
Hmm.
in a top, he's playing a top four role,
Yep.
and he really is great with the puck. And he's part of this. He's part of what's going right with this team because he is so smart with the puck, making little plays. Like he's not putting up the points like crazy, but just consistently making good passes, and that's what I saw all night long from Duncan Keith. So I, he may not be worth the price, his contract price, the price paid, but he is a good hockey player for the Edmonton Oilers this year. That's my take after watching him 9 games now. I'm glad he's an Edmonton Oiler, and I think he's going to help this team continue to win, and he's helping them win now.
He's got good anticipation, eh?
Yeah,
Get the impression he's been there, seen that before.
yeah,
Like he would show up on the boards in time to, get the puck or at least be battling for it and getting it out for the most part. Uh, we saw one example of him winding up and letting fly with a rocket of a slap shot in the goalie. What a save. It's fun watching that young goalie tonight, Connor Ingram, playing his second NHL game. And it was pointed out to us that Connor Ingram's parents were sitting one section over from us on the aisle. So I glanced over at them occasionally when their boy made a couple of 10 bell saves off of Zach Hyman and stopped this rocket from. He made a few pretty good stops in this game. He still got beaten 4 times. These Oilers consistently produce very dangerous shots. Uh,
they do. What's your bad thing?
yeah, I'm going to double out, not single out. I'm going to double out 2 players for taking what I consider to be uh, bad penalties. Late in the third period, the Oilers were ahead 4-1. Cast your mind way back to game 3 of last year's playoffs when the Oilers were ahead 4-1 in the back half of the third period and seemingly cruising to victory. And Josh Archibald takes a penalty that didn't need to be taken. And that was the very first um, thread unraveling from what had been a really good game to that point. And with, I think, 8 or 9 minutes left, it was 4-1. And by the time they got to the end of regulation, it was 4-4. And the power play goal that Winnipeg scored really started the comeback. Well, tonight it's 4-1 with what, 8 minutes left. And the same thing, they're cruising to victory, looks like. And first Warren Fogle skates right through the blue paint and hits Connor Ingram and knocks him down and takes a goalie
Oh,
interference penalty. And the goalie kind of, like, I think you thought he was skating past the goalie and the goalie maybe moved a little bit, but you
no.
can't go skating through the blue paint hitting the goalie. You got to avoid him or you got to avoid the blue paint. He did neither, wound up in the sin bin. And to me, worse because they're already down a man and they're killing that penalty. And I'm thinking to myself, I'd rather Nashville score it on the power play. The worst thing that could possibly happen here is Edmonton takes another penalty. Now they're 2 men short. They score 5-on-3 and they got a minute and a half with a 5-on-4 and it's 4-2 and there's still 6 or 7 minutes on the clock. And all of a sudden we're sitting back in our seats again. And Derek Ryan, who's got a good reputation and a deserved one for being a smart player, but this was not a smart play in the neutral zone. And I haven't fully examined the replay yet. I think you saw it on the big board, but he just kind of grabbed a guy going through the neutral zone. I thought that's a penalty, and sure enough, the arm went up. There was 13 seconds left, so luckily not long. But again, if Nashville wins a face-off, which they did, and scores in that 13 seconds, now it's 4-2. They got a full power play to go and all of a sudden changes the outlook of the game. You just can't be doing that. Both penalties were on the far side of center. It's not like they were defending their own net, and that's just sloppy. And it's a detail that I can guarantee you Dave Tippett will be talking about that, whether he's singling out those players or whether he's just talking to the team as a whole. We can't be doing that. It hurt us bad in the playoffs last year. We can't be doing that kind of stuff. And that's my bad thing.
I agree with those bad things. My bad thing, Bruce. Cody Ceci had a rough game. I tagged him. You haven't gone over my work yet on the scoring chance document, but
Not in detail.
my initial survey was that he made four major mistakes on grade A shots against, and
Hmm.
two of them came on his first shift. There was the blown pinch on a 2-on-1 chance, which Koskinen saved, and then actually I could have brought this up in the Koskinen comment. Another really great save, 30 seconds later. Duncan Keith got beat on a pass out behind the net, and Draisaitl was kind of out of position in the slot he allowed the pass out too. But Cece had been slow covering, like it was one of those plays that came around the boards and then behind the net and then out front. Cece had been on the man on the boards, but he got beat to the net by the man, and that man got the shot, a really dangerous shot as well. So right early in the game, he makes two really crucial mistakes that could have resulted in goals against. And then just the Oilers get the great power play goal with McDavid to Nuge to Draisaitl, all three of them doing their special thing. And but just 10 seconds later, just off the face-off, Cece makes a pass to Kassian, and Kassian, he's just a statue out there. He doesn't move to the pass, and it kind of bounces, it deflects off him, and he kind of turns it over in the neutral zone. And then Cece, unfortunately, had also stepped up in that moment. And I actually think Kassian was more to blame, but Cece did cause the 2-on-1. So there's a 2-on-1, and who was it? Was it Duchesne?
Matt
Duchesne went
Duchesne
in and went in and
rocket, great shot.
just picked it and scored on Koskinen. So it wasn't Cody Cece's best night. He's been pretty solid, but every defenseman's going to eat it. It's going to eat a game now and then. It happens, and they just have to snap out of it and get it together again. He's been pretty solid this year, but this was not his night. Your number.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of betwixt and between. I'm tempted to say 9 games in a row the Oilers scored in the power play to open the season. The last time they did that in 86-87 was the last time they won the division championship. So maybe that's a good omen. But I'm going to give a shout out to a guy who takes a lot of crap and doesn't have many nights like this, so he deserves a little shout out. Devon Shore. And Devon Shore tonight wound up playing 11 and a half minutes, only about a minute on the penalty kill and 10 and a half at even strength. And he got promoted during the game from the fourth to the third line between Fogle and Kassian. And it seemed to wake up the line. And Shore himself, his numbers, he had a goal +1. He did have a penalty, and it was a little tiny bit of a slew foot, as I saw it, and a good call by the ref. But he had one shot on which he scored, but he had 2 hits, 3 takeaways to lead the team, 1 block shot, 60% on the face-off dot. And then we turn to his usual terrible numbers in shot shares, and they're not terrible at all. In fact, they're really good. Tonight he was on for 12 shot attempts by the Edmonton to 6 against, 7 shots for to 3 against, and of course the key one goal for, none against. And the goal made it 4-1, and it kind of took the life out of the Preds. It went from 2-1 to 4-1 in a hurry. And I'd said to you early in the game, we want to get Nashville up to that point where they're thinking, well, we got our 2 points out of Alberta and Calgary last night, and these guys got us tonight. Let's move on. And they didn't quit, because there's not many NHL teams that actually quit. But when it went from 2-1 to 4-1, the writing was on the wall. And Shore's goal, it was a deserved goal. It was a decent shot and a good play. And I thought he had a really strong game, frankly.
He did, and I suspect he'll be back on the third line as a third line center next game. He earned it. He had a good. He played well.
He was very noticeable, wasn't he? Like he was all around the puck.
He's got some skill, and every once in a while he flashes it, and he did on that goal. Nice shot. My number, Bruce, is 29%, which is Leon Draisaitl's shooting percentage right now. So, one of the first, in terms of the modern hockey analytics movements, one of the real things that group of people impressed on people was you have to look out for players with high shooting percentages. How repeatable is it? How long are they going to keep doing it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good point,
Yep.
because if you're giving a player a big contract off a hot shooting season where
Yeah.
he's had a higher shooting percentage than ever before and more goals than ever before, you're looking for trouble. You're asking for trouble. That was an excellent point that they made. It was a big contribution to hockey thinking. The interesting thing is, Bruce, there are some players who can consistently get high shooting percentages. Now, Leon Draisaitl is not going to shoot at 29% this year.
Yeah.
He's going to drop. But he did have a full season where he shot in the 20s before. He had a 21.6 shooting percentage in 2018-19 when he scored 50 goals.
Mm-hmm.
He followed that up with a 19.7 shooting percentage. Last year, he was 18.5. So this is the league average around 11. This is
That's
way,
20% over 3 years. Basically, that would work
yeah.
out to a 20% average.
And what's the league average? Is it about 11%, 10%,
Well, if
8%?
against goalies, it's about 9%. I mean, goalies run around 9-10. I mean, you have the empty netters, and certainly forwards have a higher shooting
Higher for
percentage
forwards, that's right.
than defensemen do. So I think maybe 11 for forwards in that range.
Yeah.
But it's not 29, and it's not 20 either. I mean, you want to talk about shooting percentage? Jari Kurri shot 25% 4 years in a row, and 25 or more. 25% is like otherworldly, and you see it and you think, well, that's not going to happen again. Well, oh yes, it is. If you're Jari Kurri, had 7 years in a row over 20%. So different era, of course. And I mean, nowadays, 25% in Jari Kurri's era was 20% in today's. But we have an elite sniper. I mean, all of Draisaitl's shots seem to be dangerous ones. Some of
I
them
think
go in.
I think I worked it out last year. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I'm just looking for
Oh,
them.
the one-timers?
The one-timers, I think
Oh,
he drains about 35% of his
one
one.
and three it was, is my
Yeah,
recollection.
that's pretty
So,
good. As long as he gets lots of one-timers, he's going to have a high shooting percentage. And he's getting more one-timers than ever because the power play is so
oh,
deadly in so many other ways that they can't focus on just that deadly thing on Leon. They can't put all the eggs in that basket because the Oilers are going to score so many other ways. Ray Ferraro said something. He said he was watching the power play of the Oilers in the Vancouver game, and he said he saw panic in the Vancouver players because the Oilers were moving the puck so fast. That was a very
oh.
good description of probably what's going on the ice. And
This is a
this,
better power play than the 80s Oilers ever had.
oh yeah, yeah.
Because they were a counterattack team, and this team, it can be a counterattack team, but it can be a possession and cycle team, and just with the pure skill. And I think the '80s Oilers led the league in power play percentage once,
Couple,
and
yeah,
they
they
were
were
always
very,
in the
very
top
good.
few because they had so many snipers, right? They were always in the top 5 or so in the league. But this team is threatening to be 3 years in a row number one.
This is the half court game, and
Oh,
the
yes.
the power play that they're most like is the great Islanders power play, which I think is until now the greatest power play in NHL history. I mean, we don't have the statistics actually for the power play percentages from the earlier years. Maybe someone
Right.
does. I don't know if anyone's worked it out,
They
but
go back to the early 60s, I think, 63 or something.
really on NHL.com, it's just till 77, 78, I think.
Oh, okay.
Did you
Yeah,
get
I've
power
heard.
play percentages? Maybe there's somewhere else, Bruce, or maybe on Quant Hockey or something. But the Islanders power play was at this kind of half court offense as well. Just absolutely brutally efficient and with so many weapons, with Mike Bossy roaming the slot, with Stefan Pearson and Denny Potvin. Potvin was just a devastating shot, and Pearson with a very good shot and a very smart player. And then Clark Gillies in front of the net and Trottier doing this, that, and everything, making fantastic passes. That's the comparison that I see in terms of a power play. And but the Oilers they're gonna be setting some records this year on the power play. It is astonishing. Like we are so lucky as fans, as Oiler fans, to get to watch this, to
Mm-hmm.
have our team being this team.
In the Harlem Globetrotters.
It makes up for the decade of darkness, Bruce. It does. It's coming together in this moment where we're seeing something that we've seen it once before with the Islanders power play. Maybe there was some 50s power plays with the Habs, perhaps, and the Red Wings and other teams like that. But we haven't seen this in a long time in the NHL. And it is fantastic to watch. People who go to the Oilers games at Rogers Place, they are in for it's such a treat to watch that kind of execution,
Mhm.
and so enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah, it's a joy to watch. To have the puck on a string, and there's just so much skill. They're so great on the puck recovery
Yeah.
side. Like a chance goes awry, and the puck goes into the corner, and two Oilers streak toward it. Puck might be bouncing around. Somebody bats it down with their stick and chips it around the board, and they might have to chip it back around the boards a couple of times, and eventually comes all the way around to the other point, and there, lo and behold, there's Tyson Barrie, and he moves into the center of the ice, and he's got a guy on each side, and one guy coming at him that can't cover both of them, and and away they go again.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
I mean, I like Chase on and Neal in front of the net. I really
Mm-hmm.
like Chase on, but
Mm-hmm.
Puljujärvi and Hyman are better at puck retrieval, significantly better than those two guys. Those
Chason
two
was
guys,
good
in
at
terms
puck
of their tech,
retrieval, but he didn't have the stick those guys have, like,
yeah. So
or the
yeah, he
speed.
was technically really good in front of the net, just so
Mm-hmm.
solid at screening the goalie and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is an added element as Hyman and Puljujärvi's um, good sticks popping those pucks, and it it it
And
must be so brutal covering that, being out there against them.
and totally willing to sell out to get the puck back.
Yeah.
Like they'll crash the boards hard in that puck battle to just try and recover and recommence the cycle without having to chase it down 200 feet.
We really noticed that tonight with Puljujärvi's game, just the physical
Oh,
aspect of it. Like he's taking a lot of punishment, but man, he's into it. He's he's doing it. Like if the Oilers wanted him to become a physical player, they got their wish because he's involved in constant battles all over the place, all over the ice, and he's up for it. So, alrighty, so Friday night, next game, Kevin Lowe night. It's the Kevin
yep,
Lowe,
game 10.
tiring Kevin Lowe's
Yeah,
sweater.
they're doing it early before the pregame warm-up. So people interested in watching it, it's on something like 5:30 through 7 o'clock.
Cool.
Then they break away for the pregame warm-up, and then at 7:30 the game starts. So uh, if you're expecting it to be in the beginning of the broadcast, no, it'll be earlier than that. If you're keen on seeing it, and he will be. I've already got my number for Friday night's podcast. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know
something.
if Kevin Lowe watches this podcast.
Mhm.
We know some people in Oilers, we've associated with the Oilers watch this podcast, but I don't know if Kevin Lowe does. But if he does, like, congratulations, Kevin Lowe. You're such a fantastic hockey player and a great Edmontonian. So, well deserved. Way to go.
Yeah, I agree. He was a real key core piece to this team that a lot of younger fans that just sort of read about the team after the fact, and and his stats are different from the snipers, but boy, did he fill some important roles on that team. And,
He did. He did. All right, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.